Hi, everyone. My name is Rochelle Garrison Cocomello, and I am a leader on Team Nourish. And I am super excited to do this training. I will try to keep it quick, concise, but full of value for you guys. And I'm going to just share with you how you can have a $900 online cooking class. Online cooking classes definitely have their place in our business. They're a little more hit and miss with sales for sure. In-home cooking classes, there's much more of a guarantee in sales, but oftentimes we have a network of people who don't necessarily live in the same town as us, and they want to support us, and they want to have a cooking class too. So this is a way you can service them. Other times, people don't want an in-home one, or maybe you yourself are limited with young kids or no car or what have you. Or just a lot of times this really works nicely in conjunction with an in-home cooking class to have an online component as well. But for whatever the reason, they can be really fantastic. And though they are hit or miss, I think there's a lot of tricks of the trade that can help increase your chances of success. So first, we're going to talk about the setup of the cooking class. Now, this is actually a $900 cooking class that I'm showing you, so you can literally see what that looks like. The first thing that I do with a hostess is I suggest a theme, and I usually just throw out maybe 3 because people get overwhelmed with too many choices. I will ask her just a couple of questions, maybe about, are you and your friends looking for time saving meals, or gluten-free, vegan, what have you. And Gina was definitely concerned about time. So I suggested meals in minutes. That was one of the suggestions, and that's the one that she went with. So that's what I titled her class. So the next thing I wanted to mention is I always do these in an event, and I do that because it feels less spammy. First of all, you're not throwing someone into a group. There's also an end date, and I think people appreciate knowing when it starts and when it ends, and they don't want to miss out on that. I always do a 7-day online classes to 1 week, and I start them on a Wednesday. I always suggest that, and people never fight me on it. So I do this for a couple of reasons. The main one being is that I feel like it needs to go over a weekend, but not start or end on a weekend. People are busy on weekends. They're not usually seeing a lot of that content at that time. So what will happen is they'll see the invite on Wednesday, Thursday. They'll see some of the intro posts. And then come the weekend, people are busy. Come Monday, Tuesday, they're like, oh man, I need to order. And they'll go back and scroll the post, and they still have those 2 days to get their orders in. So that's what I recommend doing. Now, when I set this up, before I invite the hostess, I make sure in this event there are 2 posts. I do this so that when people come in to look at the event to see what it's about, there's information there. You don't want just a blank event. So I like to do this post. This is one of Epicure's videos, and this is one of the videos that actually drew me in. So it really resonated with me. It's basically Epicure's mission and their belief systems around food, and just that if you want to know what's in your food, you need to know how to cook. So this is a nice post to have. And I also post a catalog link. Some people just want to come in, shop, be done. They want to support their friend. They don't want to stay around for any of the stuff. So, let them shop by all means. So have that ready before the party even starts. Now, Gina was a fantastic hostess, and she just put an intro post without me even asking her to do so. But I would mention that they should just welcome their guests as well. People want to hear from the host way more than they want to hear from you. Now, speaking of hostesses, the next part is the hostess coaching. And this is probably what made this like 70% of the reason why this party was so successful, this online cooking class. Was coaching the host. Now look at this. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. Look at how many people actually clicked going on this event. That's pretty high for an online class these days. I find if a hostess doesn't do her job, maybe 6 to 8 people will actually click going. 24 people said, yes, I want to see all these posts. That's a really good number to start with. And the reason that this happened is Once I set up this event, I invited the hostess. She put in her little blurb, but then I did this. I messaged her, and I'm going to show you the message here. So here's the message. I sent her the link to the event, and then she could put in her hostess greeting. I sent her a link to her personal shopping link for anyone who, you always have, there's a grandma or an aunt or somebody who doesn't have Facebook, but they have an email address and they might want to order something. So I gave her that shopping link. And then I said this. I said to my hostess, I find many people don't see the event invite, so I suggest shooting them a message along the lines of, hey, I'm having an online Epicure class and thought you might be interested. Here's the link to the event if you'd like to check it out, or whatever you want to say. At least then they know you've seen at least then they've seen it, and if they want to participate, they can. Now she did this, and this is why I believe that she had the 24 people show up. So many people clicked going. They need to hear from their hostess. That is going to be the most important part of having a successful online cooking class. Now, once you start posting, so I'm going to scroll back down here. So we have our 2 pre-posts, a post from the hostess. You want to aim for 3 to 4 posts a day. Why? That's because people aren't around all the time looking, and based on algorithms, they'll usually see 1 out of those 3 to 4 posts during the day. You'll usually catch them at one time. So I stagger my posts. I do 1 in the morning, 1 around lunch, 1 early evening, late evening, something like that. And that way I'm more likely to catch somebody. So speaking of posts, I like to have a post outline. It keeps me focused. So this is my post outline here. Now, like I said, I do it for 7 days. So I'm going to go through and show you what each of these look like and why I do that. But it keeps a theme for each day. And because we're maybe only catching a person once a day, at least they're going to see how many options Epicure really offers people. Okay, so now day 1, my very first post is a shout out to the hostess, how I know her. In this case, she was a friend of a friend who I had met a long time ago. And then I want the party goers to tell me something that they love about Gina in the comments, and I'll draw a name to win these samples from me. Our samples are 50 cents Canadian a pack, so $3 plus shipping, totally worth it. And what this does, it does 2 things. Number 1, it really helps the algorithm of this online cooking class because people are commenting, and when they comment, they're more likely to see the next post because they're telling Facebook, I'm interested in what's going on in this event. So that really helps me and the hostess out. But 2, it really loves on the hostess. And if you were doing an in-home cooking class, you would easily say to people, tell me about your hostess. How do you know Gina? It's kind of replicating that in an online environment, and it really boosts her up. Like, how often do people get to hear that they're so compassionate, kind, down to earth, fantastic, and knowledgeable? Build that hostess up. It not only does it make her, fill her cup, but people see how you treat your hostesses, and they're more likely to book an online cooking class with you. So this is my post number 1, and I'll just take a picture of whatever samples I have at home. Now, as we saw in our online, our outline of posting, we know that day 1 and day 2 are meal solution packs. So here I just took a picture of whatever meal solutions I had at home. And I just talked about needing a meal in a hurry. And the reason that I focus on meal solutions first is, 1, everybody loves these, but 2, it's very, very straightforward. You know that General Tao is General Tao, and Sloppy Joe is Sloppy Joe, beef stroganoff is beef stroganoff, versus some of the other products in our catalog, like maybe spinach dip mix. When you're not exactly sure what you can do with that, I can only make a dip. Well, no, you can make a lot of things, but it's not so obvious just from the title. These, boom, they're right in people's face. They know what to do with them. And that it's a nice, easy sale, and they're 1 meal per packet, so people will consume these fairly quickly. And my reorder rate for meal solutions is very high. Okay, and people like to pick and choose. It's just fun. It's a good way to see a whole bunch of our items at once. So I'm going to talk about that. I always make sure to post our never ever list. Really important. People get very excited when they see how much crap is not in our products. Then I do think it is really nice to have a video, okay? I do think it's nice to have a video in your party. Not too many. People don't have time to watch videos. It's a nice idea. We all love them, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I have so many saved videos on Facebook and YouTube that I never have time to watch. So, and you don't have to be in them. I was in my pajamas when I filmed this, and I literally just showed them my Epicure cupboard and how I can easily grab packs on the go when I don't know what to do for meals. So if you're camera shy, no problem. It's really hands only, but aim for at least one video in your party so people can hear your voice, and that's going to help them connect to you as a hostess, and it just builds that trust gap a little bit more. Okay, so this is day 2. Again, we're still on meal solutions. I just wanted to give you a little tip with photo posting. Number 1, only try to post 1, maybe 2 pictures per post. So my background is in marketing, graphic design, and photography, and this is easier for people to see. It's not messy, it's simple, it's straightforward. It's less visual clutter, and they're going to get to the point of your post right away because it's one picture. That's it. It's just one picture. It's easy to see as they scroll. The second tip is to choose photos. This isn't even my photo, but that's fine. They didn't know that, right? Is to choose a photo with the Epicure item and the meal, and it just ties everything nicely together without you having to say that. People look first and then read. So if they don't read this post, they know that we have donaires, right? So that just puts it together really nicely for them. I know they renamed donaires for the American market, but I forget what it's called. But anyways, will have this product in the US as well. So those are my 2 tips for that. What you can do, if you have additional information, which I often have, you post it in the comments. So it keeps this nice and clean, but a lot of times we want to say more things. So I'm like, oh, I always make a roasted garlic aioli sauce with it. I make a donaire. And usually I'll even have the link here. So that's where you can put any extra information that you want. Here's another meal solution plan post. By the way, I have a mock party of everything that I'm showing you here, so you can look at everything more in detail. But this just lets people know how many meals they can make with our different packages. I do have another video. This one I had pre-done. Let's see. Now we're on to day 3. So day 3, I like to do Switch the 6, which is a fantastic bundle. It's a good place to start when people are like, I don't know what to buy first. You're like, well, here, buy Switch the 6. Also, people tend to buy 3 things, but we don't want them to buy 3 individual spices. We want them to buy a kit. Now, when they buy a kit, psychologically to them, this is one item. So one item at $50 versus one individual spice at $8 or what have you. I might be saying Canadian prices, I'm sorry. It's a big difference for you. If they buy 3 $50 items, you have a much higher sale than if they buy 3 individual spices. So I definitely like to focus more on kits of things. So I would recommend Switch the 6. You could do any of the Good Food Real Fast. This is just the one I chose because I personally love this one. So do whatever feels, you could do Good Food, Real Fast Mexican or Greek or whatever, but do a kit here. So this is what I've just taken a photograph of that. And then I go into a bit about why that matters, why you want to switch things. And that is on, what is that? So that's day 3. So day 4, I'm just looking at my notes here. Day 4, I talk about pantry basics. So I just picked my favorite things, and pantry basic basically says, without saying, this is things you have to have in your pantry, and why don't you have these things? And people will be like, oh yeah, and this is where I sold so many of these, and I really feel like it was because of this post. I think people are like, oh yeah, an $8 add-on or $11 add-on, whatever the prices are in American, sorry, I'm not sure, but they think, oh, that's not a big deal. I need a pantry basic, especially when you say things like, this jar is, 67 garlic cloves worth. Like, people are like, well, I need garlic anyways. It's a pantry basic. I would want this. So on day 4, I go through all of my favorites pantry basics. Now, my host happened to post something which I will Some hostesses know how to do this on their own, and bless them for that. Other ones do not. So I just asked Gina, it's been a little bit quiet in your party. This party was so quiet, by the way, super quiet for the most part. And I said, Gina, do you mind just posting? You don't even have to post a picture, just post all of your favorite products that you've tried, because people would way rather hear from you than me. Well, she went above and beyond and actually took a picture. And look, 21 comments from my super quiet party where no one else was commenting on anything. And boom, of course, because it's the host and it's their friend, they start commenting. So again, that just boosts the algorithm. Okay. This is back to the Switch the Six collection that I was featuring. I made this in Canva and just really highlighted, well, obviously you need broth. Everybody needs broth, and you get 22 cups in one jar. My next one was lemon dilly. And again, for pantry basics, honestly, just pick whatever you love and what resonates with you, because that will come through. I did want to tell you one other little tip here. Your verbiage in a post your goal is to solve a problem. This basically makes it a high value post every time you're solving people's problems. So instead of it just being delicious, right? That's not a problem. That's just a perk. Like, that's not a problem solver. That's just a perk. I talk about here, use this in replace of fresh dill. No more waste. I never use all of the fresh dill I buy at once, and it inevitably rots in my fridge. So now I never have rotten dill anymore. I can always have this on hand. I use it in replacement of fresh dill. I'm not wasting money. So I'm solving a problem with my verbiage. Okay, next up, I had another customer post something amazing, or a customer post something. Another pantry basics was Cocoa Crunch. And now we're on to the next day, which is day 5. So day 5, I like to go over our good food real results. So the cookbook, the meal prep, and this ends up being on the Sunday. Because I start things on Wednesday, day 5 of my party is on a Sunday, and Sunday nights are when people do meal prep, or they're thinking about the meals for the week, or maybe grocery shopping. So it's a perfect time to highlight our cookbook, prep book, our Good Food Real Results book, which is amazing. Absolutely. There's so much prep information in here. So you could feature the entire program, you could feature bits of the program, but definitely I think it's nice to let people know. And a lot of people will buy the whole bundle, which is over $100. So I also post that there's a weight loss component, but we really, and this is one I was allowed to share, we do really focus on the wellness side of it. So it's a really nice program. And then I talk about really the prep part of it, right? And here in the comments, I've talked about our portion control scoops and everything you can do so that, I mean, look at this. Wouldn't that be nice on a Sunday night? Everybody wants that. So next day is day 6. Now I talk about, I know they haven't released this in the US, our gluten-free bagel mix or our bagel pan. But they are going to be having gluten-free pizza dough. So I would either talk about something specifically gluten-free here and talk about that day and the things you can do with that, or I would do healthier desserts, one of the two. So I had chosen this, so I talk about our bagels. Now, somewhere in the party, and I do this a little bit more towards the end when people have started to probably grow a mental wish list, I want to talk about if they book from this party, from this class, they're going to get a product credit and the host will get an extra half price items. And I just visually put in some samples of what that $20 product credit could look like. Essentially, like, you can get this for free if you book a cooking class today from this cooking class. And then once that one qualifies, they will get one of these items for free. So I would do that in person. I would do that with our little reward coupons. So you need to kind of replicate that the best way that you can. And so here I've done that to try to, basically replicate the same thing. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention is that throughout the class, you want to say thank you to anybody who orders anything as soon as they do it. So every time somebody ordered, so here's Susan, I will make a post of exactly what she ordered, because let's face it, people are snoopy. I don't know about you, but I always want to be like, well, what are other people buying? There's so many good things. Like, I'm so curious. So post all what they're buying, and you make sure that you tag them in it. Here's another, this is just to go with our gluten-free mix. And you always want to have a last day to order post. Again, here's more people. I wanted to mention this too. So this was another purchase from a customer. So I said, thank you, posted everything she purchased. I tagged them in the post, but I also, in the recipes, I tag them again with a recipe that they can make from one of the items that they use. And this is just a little extra value added to say, like, I appreciate what you've purchased. Here's what you can do with it. And this also reminds them to use it, because sometimes people use things and they just forget. Or they don't realize how versatile our products are. So 2 tags, and my hostess was amazing, and she would also go in and thank every single customer that ordered. That's something you could also suggest. I didn't even have to ask her; she did that on her own. But that was really helpful and really nice. So these are more customer orders. Now everyone started to order. The super quiet class that barely anybody commented on ended up being, like I said, a $900 online cooking class. So when the cooking classes come to a close, I give a big thank you to the hostess. That's really important. And if she has a decent amount of hostess rewards, I definitely highlight those so everyone else can have, FOMO, fear of missing out, or cooking class envy. I also remind them that they can get an extra $20 product credit. And then I put a shopping link just in case anyone needs that, on hand to do those last minute orders. I also I let people know that the link will stay open until the end of the day. It actually stays open for 5 more days. But I don't tell people that because they're going to forget. I tell people they have usually 24 hours. I give them a 24-hour notice, and then, or this one, it's come to a close, but you can order till the end of today just for those last minute orders, okay? And then my very last post is I'm going to draw for the sample, people to win the samples. And I use an online random name picker so that they can see that it's definitely authentic. Okay, what are you going to do post-class? Well, first you're going to write the hostess, tell her thank you so much. You've been a fantastic hostess. You have 30 days to cash in your hostess rewards. Now they're going to get an email to let them know that they can shop, because they can place that hostess order themselves, or you can do it for them. They'll get that email once you've closed the cooking class. But here's where it gets really important. Now, I just had all these new customers, and I don't want them to be one-time customers. I want them to be repeat customers. It's a little bit trickier to do that in an online platform versus an in-home cooking class where people can connect with you and you can have those conversations. So you have to work harder here, but it's totally worth it. So I want to keep them in my audience. So what do? First of all, I watch my back office like a hawk, and as soon as their orders have been delivered, not shipped, but actually delivered to their door, I write them and say, hey, Susan, just wanted to make sure that I saw that your order was delivered today. I just wanted to make sure that everything arrived okay. People say yes, pretty much all the time. Everything's great. And I said, oh, perfect. I also have an online recipe group. Would you like to be a part of that? I've only ever had one person say no. I was so shocked when I got that no too, because I never get no's. But and then I add them to my clean eating recipe group. Now, usually you have to add them as a friend first, so you could also send them a friend request. You can do it without, it's up to you. But now they're going to be in a recipe group where you can get, in front of their eyeballs more often, okay? So in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'm actually going to send these new customers a message. Again, I'm going to go to my Epicure website, and I'm going to send them a recipe using an item that they've purchased. So let's say they bought the perfect portion pan, okay? Now, I put it in the search bar, and you can see it actually gives me recipes using this. Look at this, 394 results. Our website is phenomenal. So I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to pick something like, ooh, perfectly petite pumpkin cheesecake. Well, that looks adorable. I'm going to go to this page. I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm going to send it to them and say, oh, hey, Susan, I came across this recipe. I remembered that you had the perfect portion perfect portion pan, and just wanted to share it with you. Everybody's delighted because, first of all, you thought of them. It's a really nice customer service gesture, but also it reminds people to use the things that they've purchased, especially if it's a spice. Like this, in this case, it's a cookware, but if it's a spice too, lots of people forget. Maybe they ordered the spinach dip, the dip mix, but you can actually do so many things with it besides just hot spinach dip. Like, look, you can do spinach pies. We have a chickpea salad with it. It's delicious. So many things can be done. People don't realize. So you're just reminding them, which is great customer service, and it gets people on your website. So that is it. That is how to do a $900 online cooking class. And I hope that was super helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'm going to have an online mock cooking class for you to join to really be able to see and peruse the posts. I just wanted to say one last thing, and that is to make sure you love on your hostesses. They are so much more than even just a VIP client. I mean, Gina just brought me $900 worth of sales. So every time there's a new catalog, I send one to my host with a sample. That's 3 times a year. They deserve it. They're likely to rebook again. And it's just a nice, appreciative gesture. Okay. So, like I said, hopefully that's helpful, and stay tuned for the link to the mock online class.